There's a dog showing up, and I'm going to read a little bit about the dog so that you know what to watch for. So, Mini Aussie Doodle, 5 months. She talks about basic obedience, but she says mainly needs socialization. We would really like help with her extreme fear of humans. She shakes and hides behind us. If approached, she growls. She's young though, she's only 5 months. If the person approaches, she will sometimes lick them, but continues to pull away and be very fearful. Okay, that's the main thing. We don't really need to worry tremendously about the basic obedience. We need to figure out what's going on with the fear. Could be a fear period. Could be real fear. Could be both. Could be something else. This is not going to just be treats from me and treats from my trainers. That's going to be a part of it. If it doesn't work, we got to move on. Okay? Keep doing that, but then move on to some other things. All right, here she is. Tell me her name again.
Deli.
Deli and Brianna and Steve. Okay, come on down.
Come on, Peanut.
Where'd you guys get her from?
Mini Aussie breeder in South Carolina.
Did she like fly out here, drive out here?
It was like a 3-day drive.
Yep. This is Deli. She is a 5-month-old mini Australian Shepherd. She's very scared. She's trying to leave. You're going to see the fear throughout this video. We're going to do a lot with her. You're going to see a change by the end. But here's what I want to go over in this video with you. I'm going to go over the 5 methods to eliminating fear. Okay? I am also going to go over the 4 types of fear or why the dog is fearful. So throughout this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 things that you need to know to eliminate fear. Look at her mouth. Those are like mini barks. They're also like stress, like with the mouth moving, but they're mainly mini barks. But that's some dogs when they're really stressed, they almost like grind their teeth. So, but those are more like little mini barks. So here she is. First thing I'm going to do is whenever a dog's like this, I bring him down and I tell him to take the leash off. I want the dog to just cruise. I want the dog to smell. I want her to smell other dogs pee. I want her to run around. If she wants to explore, that's the best. She doesn't want to explore. She wants to stay by her owners. Look at those little tiny barks, but they're not loud. All right, so here is the 5 things that I want you to get out of this video on how to do with your dog, because a lot of you have dogs just like this. All right, you ready? Get a pen and paper. Fearful dogs. The first thing is desensitization. You need to write that down. The second thing is socialization. The third thing is when to push boundaries. The fourth is counter conditioning. And the fifth, in dealing with a young dog under a year, is patience. All right, so in a minute, what you're going to see is me jump to counter conditioning. Okay, what is counter conditioning? In layman's terms, for this situation, it is I am going to feed the dog. I want the dog to see scary men, scary people as treat delivery systems. Right now, I have nothing to offer Deli. Deli doesn't care about me. I'm just a dude standing there. The cameraman's a dude standing there. But right now, I'm going to have something to offer Deli. So, toss a piece of hot dog. A piece of good, organic hot dog. Hot dogs are good. They have things in them good for you hot dogs. They have like random animal meats that maybe humans don't want to eat, but dogs are fine with. Okay, hot dog. Now, for Deli, counter conditioning was not the answer. For some dogs, counter conditioning is huge. It just is. Treats from scary people, I call it treats from the scary stimulus, is such a big deal. For Deli, it's just not. I fed treats to Deli throughout this whole process. It never seemed to really make a difference. And Deli ate them, which is a really good sign and an interesting sign. Some dogs don't eat them. They're too scared. Deli's not too scared to eat treats. Deli eats a lot of treats during this session. I cut out a little bit of it when my trainers fed, but like I feed treats. I hold her at one point, I feed treats. They didn't seem to really move the needle at all. So that tells us something. Okay, counter conditioning is not the main answer, but for your dog, counter conditioning or treats coming from the scary stimulus is a big part of this deal. in my opinion, counter conditioning does not work when the owners give treats. This dog went to another trainer, an all positive trainer, and the trainer said, no, the owner needs to give treats. I do not agree with that. Look at the barking. A lot of barking. Even after the treats, barking at me. That's another sign. Didn't work. Treats from me was not the answer. Desensitization, socialization, when to push the boundaries, and patience is probably the answer. So we eliminated one thing. Now, time to meet a dog. This would be socialization. Okay? Remember that deal, socialization. Look at the barking. A lot of barking, a lot of barking. Here comes Prince. Why do I have Prince on a leash? I don't want Prince to overwhelm this dog. Although it's only going to take about a few minutes and I'm going to let Prince off the leash because I'm like, it's time to, remember, push the boundaries. It's enough. I've given the dog treats. The dog has had time to run around the property. Now we bring a nice dog out at the nice dog's own property and the dog's just barking, running. It's scared, but remember, push the boundaries. So in a minute, we're going to let Prince off. We're not going to let some crazy puppy off leash to jump on Deli. We're not going to let, Prince just ignores Deli. Okay? Sort of. Then he's going to, in a minute, he's going to kind of chase Deli. That's okay. A lot of trainers are like, oh my God, if the dog's scared, you never, quote unquote, push the boundaries with the dog. That is not me. That is not the way I deal with things. Sometimes kids, dogs, animals, they need to be let know, you're fine, deal with it. Deal with things in life. We are not overwhelming you. This is a normal situation. This is a nice dog. I have to tell Prince kind of chill out. He's like I'm like, chill out, Prince. It's a little much. Just a little much. It's not a lot much. It's a nice dog. It's a nice dog at his property. And look, Deli's not like all tripped out from that chase. We are pushing the boundaries a little bit. Now we're going to go down to the pasture. What desensitization, socialization, pushing the boundaries, counter conditioning, or patience? Where does coming down to a new area fall? Why do we even go down here? Desensitization. There's grass down here. There's crows in the trees down here. There's gopher holes. That's not a gopher hole. That's a dog digging hole. But there's gopher holes that have different smells to them. It's a different area. Even the grass on dogs' paws, if they don't have access to grass, desensitize. Fearful dogs need desensitization. All right. And what's happening right now? Socialization as well. So that's the deal that we're doing right now. A lot of cruising around. Let's see. In a minute, we're going to bring down another dog, right? What's that? Socialization. We're also pushing the boundaries. Are we ready to go? Oh, he never desensitized with Prince, so we're just not going to do it? No. Time for another dog. Plus, another Australian Shepherd. Maybe this dog likes Australian Shepherds. Reminds me of his mommy. I don't know. So we're going to bring down Bodhi, Australian Shepherd. More desensitization, more socialization, a little bit of pushing the boundaries. Although Bodhi's on a leash, we're not really pushing the boundaries. You have to do all of these things. You have to figure out what is best for your dog and focus on that. So maybe treats from a man or a person, if the dog's scared of people, is the best thing. Maybe socialization. And socialization and desensitization are hand in hand. They're almost similar. It's like a rectangle is a square, but a square is not a rectangle kind of thing. I think I got that right. One is the other, but the other is not. They're both, socialization is desensitization, but desensitization is definitely not socialization. Desensitization is like when the wind hits the trees and a dog gets a little freaked out. Desensitized to that. Socialization is more social. That would be get him around people, get him around dogs. It's other living creatures they need to socialize with. So they're both probably the two most important things on here, although I would argue the others are very important as well. So now we are going back up. So meeting dogs, pushing the boundaries, socializing. We're going to try something else. Give her to me. I can feel her little heart going. And then treats. She eats the treats. That doesn't tell us like everything in the world. Oh, she ate the treats, therefore she's super comfortable. But it tells us something. She's not freaked out. More treats. Eats them, doesn't eat them, drops them. Let's see if she eats this one. I can't tell. Holding her, she's not like terrified. I mean, she's just an all-around nervous dog. All right. Now here's what the breeder said. The breeder said you need to push this dog a little bit. It's like you can't let her just not live life because she's scared. You need to be like, no, you're fine. You're doing this. Then this lady went to another trainer. The trainer was like, oh my gosh, you can't push this dog. You have to go very slow. And I agree, you have to go slow, but not very slow. Who do you think's right? Those are two very opposite things. Who do you think's right? The breeder or the other trainer? The breeder's right. Why do I think the breeder's right? Breeders can be very odd people. They almost always are very odd people, but they know their dogs. Breeders know their dogs. Okay, now a couple little dogs coming out. Sort of the same reaction. The breeders know their dogs. They just do. I take what breeders say about their particular dogs very much into account. So I'd follow the breeder, and so that would be pushing the limits, right? Pushing the dog a little bit. So meeting 2 more dogs. So let's talk about the patience thing. I have met quite a few kids, my kids' friends, that were kind of horrible little kids. Like at 3, they're like hit a kid or things they shouldn't do at 3 years, throwing sand, throwing full-on temper tantrums that are like out of control. And then those kids grow up and they're normal people. There are dogs, animals, and children, they go through things in life and then they turn out okay. You have to do the things, desensitization, socialization, pushing the limits, and counter conditioning. You also just have to be patient, right? The guy in this video, he's a little more patient. His wife's a little more like, I'm worried about this dog. They're both right. You should be worried. You should also have hope and be patient, because kids and dogs, they go through things in early life. People go through things. They just do. Their brain is changing. They take the world in differently. So now we're down at the pool. Now I'm going to get into the different types of fear. I think I've talked about the 5 things you need to do. Now it's different types. So here's the different types of fear. We're going to put her in the pool. There is genetic fear. Okay? It's been proven to pass down through genes. The aggression's not passed down, but fear is passed down. It's been proven. There is early life stuff. So a dog could have perfect genetics, but then stay in a crate for 6 months, be in a field for 6 months, be on the streets for 6 months, whatever, and then turn out fearful or not great or aggressive. That's early life stuff. That has nothing to do with genes. Then there's fear period stuff. I've talked about this before. 9 months is the worst fear period. Their brain is changing. I think it's not a great term, fear period, because like my dog didn't go through, he wasn't ever scared. He was just tripped out by the world a bit. And then, so that's fear period stuff. Some dogs are perfect. They go through a fear period. The owner's like, oh my God, my dog's super scared. And I'm like, no, just fear period. Your dog is actually perfect. But it's usually a combination. And then there is an aspect of you got what you got. There are kids that are born, look at this growl from her. I just told Prince to kind of back off a little bit, but this is pushing the limits thing. We have to push the limits with this dog. I cannot assume this dog's going to grow out of this. Okay? That would be the patience aspect. I cannot assume that. We also cannot go super slow with this. So why are we getting her in the water? What does this fall under? Desensitization, slow socialization, pushing the limits, counter conditioning, or patience. This is pushing the limits, and this is desensitization. The dog is feeling a unique sensation, swimming. It's not warm, it's not hot, but you saw her panting. Her body gets warm when they're nervous. But it's mainly feel a different feeling. Do something fun. Do something different. Even if you don't want to do it or it's a little scary, it's good for these dogs to do this stuff. All right, back to why dogs are the way they are. Genetics, early life, fear period, and you got what you got. Here's what I mean by you got what you got. There are people who have kids and they have autism. They have ADHD. There's not a reason for it necessarily. People have theories, and there probably is a reason. No one knows the reason, or no one totally knows the reason. Sometimes you just get what you get. The breeder did a great job. The parents, you met both parents and they were calm as can be. And then they had this unbelievably nervous dog. You got what you got. No one knows why. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, there was a reason, but maybe there's not a reason. Here's your dog. All right, we got to deal with it. We don't know why this dog is this way. We got to deal with it. All right. So if you have a fearful dog, you have to remember desensitization, which means getting them out in the world to desensitize the world. Socialization, getting them around things. Socialize, if they're scared of dogs and scared of people, you got to get them around dogs and people. But that doesn't mean you overwhelm them. But then that goes to the next thing, which is pushing the limits or pushing the boundaries. You got to push them sometimes, okay? And then counter conditioning. That would be treating from people. That's generally what the term I use for that. Counter conditioning. And then lastly is patience. Just understand that your dog in early life is going through a lot, and you have to be patient. So if you have a fearful dog, I think this video is going to be good for you. This dog was better. They are going to do the board and train. We have to up the numbers of dogs. Clients can't always do all this stuff well enough to get their dog through it. Okay, pushing the boundaries right there. Socializing right there. Got to deal with this. You got to deal with Prince. He's done nothing that would assume that he's going to attack you. Hey, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, please.